say, man, I don't know her. She's too quiet.
What up, though? It's your girl, She's Too Quiet, and welcome back to the She's Too Quiet podcast. She's Too Quiet is all about remembering your voice matters. Although you're quiet, people are actually interested in you. They want to know what you like, what you don't like, where you go, and where you don't go. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Your voice matters. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about making adjustments. Adjusting to different situations, different circumstances, and life period can be difficult. I know you don't want to fail anybody. I know you don't want to have to say the hard thing, but a lot of times we're a little bit too hard on ourselves and we feel like we're letting people down, or we feel like we're letting ourselves down if we have to tweak and make adjustments in life. Sometimes it could be for the better, and I think we don't think about that enough. In the end, adjustments need to be made. There's many scriptures actually in the Bible that talks about the different seasons in life and how changes need to be made. There's a time for everything under the sun. And I think it's important that we keep in mind that there will be a time that you're going to have to adjust. Things can't stay the same forever. As much as we want them to, as much as we're conditioned in certain ways, things can't stay the same. You have to put on your big boy pants and your big girl pants and just make a decision. For me, I have always been one that wavers. I've always been, hate to say it, that hot and cold type of person. One day I'm feeling on, the next day I'm feeling off, very unbalanced, if you will. But the more and more I'm learning about myself, I'm wanting to start making those tough decisions, having those tough conversations with myself to just make the decision to adjust. And I'm realizing too, I have to backpedal. Like, there's some instances where I may overextend myself, or I may bite off a little bit more than I can chew. And as a quiet girl, it's always been hard for me to say what I feel off rip or say what I mean. And I end up torturing myself in the long run because I'm like, listen, forget it. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just going to settle and I'm going to just deal with it. And although I may not like it, or although I may have a hard time with it, I would normally suffer through it. But right now I'm feeling like, listen, girl, you're getting older and you need to start, being an adult. Like, it's okay if you have to make adjustments. It's a part of life. And when you're growing up, in certain instances, you feel bad or you feel like I can't say things. But in reality, you can. You can determine the life you want to live. No one can make you do anything. And some of us, we forget that. No one can make you do anything. And a lot of times, we do it to ourselves. We really put ourselves in situations to where we overextend ourselves. We put ourselves in situations to where we don't have time for the things we love. We don't have time for our families. We don't have time for a break, to just breathe. And I feel right now it's very important to take a step back and look at some things that I'm doing and make those adjustments. As hard as it may be, as uncomfortable as it may be, give yourself permission to do it. Now, like I was talking about seasons before, one of the scriptures that deals with this topic is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven." As you go down to verses, 2, 3, 11, they talk about, there's a time for birth, a time for death, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to cry, a time to laugh. And each one of these changes and phases, God is the peace that's going to carry us through. So although it may be difficult to adjust, you have to trust God's plan. A lot of us too, we have goals. We have goals that we set out for ourselves, and you may not realize you're self-sabotaging your own goals. And I had to realize that some situations that I put myself into sabotage the goals that I have set for myself. This may be happening unconsciously due to, the things that we're used to doing, our routine things. And I really want to create some space in my life. And for me, it's like turning a workaholic into somebody that doesn't, be on the go all the time. That's been hard for me to reprogram myself. There's times where I feel like I'm drifting back into workaholic mode, and at that point I have to stop myself. If I want a life to where I have more flexibility, what sense does it make filling it up with all these things? For me, I realize I'm starting to fill those spaces with the things that I used to do, or the things that used to take up a bunch of my time. I just came to the realization that you need to take a step back sometimes, right? You need to analyze the decisions you make. And I'm a little slow right now because it's new, you have to give yourself grace. New things take time to implement, and I've realized over the last couple of weeks there are some things that I used to do that I feel like I'm trying to interject into this new space. Listen, sis, you about to repeat your old life, and do you want to do that? Do you really want to do that? Is that what we're doing? Like, cool, you've always been a supportive daughter or a supportive friend, but take a look at it. Are you filling these spaces up again? And it's hard for us to sometimes address it head on and, contact the people we need to contact, say what we need to say, and be like, listen, I can't do that. I can't be here for all of your birthdays. I can't be here for all of these special occasions. And that thing has gone around about protecting your peace and making sure that you're in a good mental state. And a lot of people need to really focus on that. Are the things in your life putting you in the best mental state for what you see in your future? For me, I want a family. I want a great job to where I'm comfortable and I don't mind going Monday through Friday. I want hobbies that I don't mind doing. I want friends that I don't mind, hanging out with. And I have to realize if there's something that's getting in the way of that, I need to make adjustments. If there's one friend that is taking too much out of me, they're taking too much of my time away from me reaching my goals, or they're draining some of my energy because they have all this negativity going on in their lives. Granted, you want to be there for your friends, but if they're always down and they're always giving you all of their stuff, how does that support you mentally? How are you taking care of yourself mentally, carrying somebody else's baggage? I get it. You're the cornerstone of your family. They all depend on you. They don't really feel comfortable unless you're there. That's great. I'm glad you could be that for somebody, but look at yourself though. How does that make you feel? Are you doing things that you want to do, or is your life filled with stuff other people want you to do? That could be hard because you're like, man, I don't want to let these people down, or I know they depend on me, but at the same time, you got to think about yourself sometimes. Not in a selfish way, some people be like, oh, you're selfish, or you're only worried about yourself. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's like, if I don't worry about me, who else will? I can't count on you to worry about me. You know what I'm saying? You really have to start taking care of yourself. And this goes for everybody, because the more I grow up, the more I begin to see things. The more you talk to people, meet new people, and people do things differently. And sometimes you're not really exposed to people's lifestyles and stuff until you start having conversations with them, and they start telling you about all their adventures, all of their vacations, all of their just quiet time. Where, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I read a book, I went outside, I did all of these things. And then you take a look at yourself and like, man, I would really want to do that, but I have no time in my life to do that. Or, wow, they just sat and read. I used to love reading. I wish I can have time to read again. Make those adjustments. It's okay. Give yourself grace to make those adjustments, and don't fill those spaces with things that take you away from doing something that you want to do, especially like being involved in church or being involved with the kids and their activities, making sure you have time to support your spouse. Yes, those are important. Those are great things. But add yourself in there. You give all these people your time. You give your kids all of your time, but what are you going to do for you? I was watching a video on Facebook, and this man, he was talking in the sense of parents and their kids, and he made a good point about how sometimes parents think of children as their property, and you don't really see your child as an individual. You see them as something that you're trying to mold and control, but you don't take time to realize this person may have things that they want to do, like they want to explore music, or they want to explore some creative aspect of themselves. Maybe they're interested in something particular. You don't really cultivate those things. You're more interested in, making this person do things and act a certain way. And that's the same thing for us. Even as we get older, there are people who try to force us to act a certain way. There are people that are trying to force us to do certain things that we're not necessarily interested in doing. Or we may think we're interested in doing these things, but is this really what I want to do? Although I've done this, although this is a part of my conditioning, what I'm used to doing, does this get me any closer to who I want to be? I've mentioned that right now my main goal in life is self-care, self-love, being consistent, and really focusing on She's Too Quiet. And if anything that I find takes me away from doing that, I have to make the adjustment. So I encourage you to do the same. What do you want to do in life? Life is short, okay? You only got a clean, I ain't gonna hold you, you probably got a clean 75, okay? And that may be a stretch. You may, no offense. No offense to some listeners out there, but you maybe got a smooth 75 years. And if you on year 30, you start thinking about a few things like, listen, what do I want to do? What are some of the things that God wants me to see and experience on this green earth? You know what I'm saying? What are some things that I have dreamt about doing and haven't tapped into? Make those adjustments in your life to be able to do those things. You're not a bad person, okay? A lot of people may feel like they're a bad person because they can't show up for people, but that doesn't make you a bad person. Do what you can. If you can go the extra mile, go the extra mile. But if you can't, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel like you're not being the best version of you. That's not true. And I think we have a huge common misconception about that. Don't let anybody force you to do things you don't want to do. Don't be forced to feel ways you don't feel. And there's a lot of manipulation going on right now with that. Like they say, you gotta tell Diddy no. Is it too soon for Diddy jokes? I'm sorry if that was ill placed, but you gotta say no, and it's okay. Life goes on. If you can't do it, trust and believe there will be someone that will be able to step in and take your place. You are replaceable. I'm sorry to tell you, if you cannot do something, there's a high chance that someone can take your place. We see that all the time at jobs. You think you're the front runner at your job. You think you'll never be fired. You think that you got everything in the bag and you're let go. Or you think you got everything in the bag and they don't appreciate you. You think you got everything in the bag and you say you're about to go get another job. They don't fight for you. They let you go. They can find somebody to put in your place. So never think that no one is going to be there to pick up where you left off or where you decided to take another exit, that someone won't be on that same road ready to fill in. So that's pretty much all I have today. I just wanted to put that out there. I'm realizing that some people feel like they don't have the permission to adjust. And today I just want to let you know, you have the permission to make adjustments in life. It's going to take some getting used to. I'm in that stage right now. I'm trying to get used to making adjustments. I'm trying to get used to knowing what adjustments I need to make. I'm trying to get used to talking things through with other people to help me make those decisions, even talking it through with God through prayer, making sure that, you're getting wise counsel. And that only helps you further tap into your goals and getting to where you want to be. And just be encouraged. Like I always say, be encouraged. You may be in the stage of life where you're in the adjustment season. This is your time to adjust. And you have to be sure that you catch these windows. There may be a time where you can't make adjustments like you want to. So taking the opportunity and taking advantage of adjustments, I think it's important. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're interested in seeding into the She's Too Quiet podcast, feel free to give at the handle $She's Too Quiet on Cash App. Like I always say, love God and love people. Until next time, deuces.